In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Let's continue 2 Samuel. We're almost there, finishing 2 Samuel, and we're going into chapter 20. So 19, so 19, yeah, sorry, because I'm excited more about 20. Maybe that's why. It's okay, sure. So chapter 19, and previous chapter we saw the end of Absalom, right? You call him what? The handsome, beautiful man. Okay, and he was happy about how he looked, and he paid for it. Okay. If you stick around enough, okay, you're gonna see a similar person in 1 King chapter 1. Okay, so I'm teasing you a bit. So if you want to go ahead and read 1 King chapter 1, you're gonna see what I mean. But if not, just stick around for a little bit and we'll be there, maybe. So, and we saw the end of Absalom, and yet, of course, David did not order to kill him, but Joab volunteered to kill him again, just like he also volunteered to kill Abner, the army leader for okay, the name is tough to pronounce. I have to see it. Mephibosheth. No. Okay, just look it up. 1 Samuel, first chapter. So apparently Abner he volunteered to kill many people, and all of them under the name of serving David. And almost every time David is not happy with his doing, and every time almost David want to do something about it, but he doesn't. So that's part of David's weakness with Joab. Okay. Ishbosheth. Okay, so that's the one I was looking for. Mephibosheth is the other one. Very close. Okay, so let's go into chapter 19. We have quite to cover, but it's lots of exciting stuff. So just follow with me, because I'm gonna try to go a bit faster in chapter 19. And Joab, something very important also to mention here. Chapter 20, David met a very important person in chapter 18, sorry, and received to himself back the leader of the army of Absalom. Anyone remembers his name? Amasa. Yes, that's right. And Amasa, apparently, as we saw, actually in chapter 19, we're going to continue chapter 19. In verse 13, chapter 19, verse 13, King David told him, "And I say to Amasa, are you not my bone and my flesh? Go do so to me and more also, if you are not commander of the army before me continually in the place of Joab." Okay, we're gonna see what's gonna happen now. So I'm just gonna run really quick, beginning of chapter 19. And Joab was told, "Behold, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom." So the victory that day was turned into mourning, for all the people heard it, said that day, "The king grieved for his son." And the people stole back into the city that day as people who are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. But the king covered his face, and the king cried out with loud voice, "My son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son." Then Joab came into the house to the king and said, "Today you have disgraced all your servants who today have saved your life, the lives of your sons and daughters, the lives of your wives, and the lives of your concubines." And we spoke about this. How could he talk like this to the king? That's so disrespectful. In that you have love, that you love your enemies, which is right, and hate your friends, which is wrong. And we spoke about that as well. For you have declared today that you regard neither princes nor servants. For today I perceive that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died today, then it would have pleased you well. Now therefore arise, go out and speak comfort to your servants, for I swear by Lord, if you do not go out, not one will stay with you this night, and that will be worse for you than all evil that has befallen you from your youth until now. He's threatening the king. Okay, that shows how strong Joab is becoming. Then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told the people, saying, "There is the king sitting in the gate." So all the people came before the king, for everyone of Israel had fled to his tent. Now all the people were in dispute throughout all tribes of Israel, saying, "The king saved us from the hand of our enemies. He delivered us from the hand of Philistines, and now he has fled from the land because of Absalom. But Absalom, whom we anointed over us, has died in battle. Now, therefore, why do you say nothing about bringing back the king?" So King David sent to Zadok and Abiathar, the priests. And we, if you remember, we highlighted that he did not send Joab, okay, because now he's seeking reconciliation. So to reconcile, he's sending priests, okay, to bring peace. Okay, he's not sending Joab to kill. So so he sent the priest and speak to the elders of Judah, saying, "Why are you the last to bring the king back to his house, since the words of all Israel have come to the king to his very house? You are my brethren, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then are you the last to bring back the king?" And say to Amasa. So now we're continuing. 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 13. "Are you not my bone and my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if you are not commander of the army before me continually in place of Joab." So he took the army leader that Absalom was trusting, and he is making him an army leader on top of Joab. Okay, we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Keep this in mind. This is very important. So he swayed the hearts of all men of Judah, just as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word to the king: "Return, you and all your servants." Then the king returned and came to Jordan. And Judah came to Gilgal to go to meet the king, to escort the king across the Jordan. And we said, you know, he was like standing and waiting for everyone to go ahead of him. And as if like going back and restoring the kingdom and everything needs to always happen at the Jordan, where it represents its baptism, its repentance. Okay, it's very important. So without that step, restoration cannot happen. And Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. If you remember, Shimei, he did what? He was cursing David on his way out, right? And we said how King David, Psalm number 3 is, if you read the top, it says, and King David wrote Psalm 3 in response to what he was doing, because he was cursing and like shouting against him and he was like kind of putting them down as they were fleeing from Jerusalem when Absalom came over. So now this man is coming back to David thinking, man, I was on the wrong side. I gotta do something about it. Otherwise, King David is gonna, bring me to pieces to the dogs. So he came to meet King David. There were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, 1,000. And Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons, and his 20 servants with him. And they went over the Jordan before the king. Then a ferry boat went across to carry over the king's household and to do what he thought good. Now Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king when he had crossed the Jordan. Then he said to the king, do not let my lord impute iniquity to me, or remember what wrong your servant did on the day that my lord the king left Jerusalem, that the king should take it to heart. Don't be heavy. Don't take it on your heart. Take it easy on me, okay? Don't get emotional. And now, so we're following 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 20. For I, your servant, know that I have sinned. Therefore, here I am, the first to come today of all the house of Joseph, to go down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, you remember Abishai, the brother of Joab, the two big guys, right? They always very zeal for David. Answered and said, shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? If you remember, also Abishai on the way out, he told King David, look at this. What is this dog like barking like at you leaving Jerusalem? Let me go and kill him. And King David said, no, it's okay. As you said, like, it's a dog, don't do anything. I deserve it because I did wrong in front of God. And God put this man to curse me. So it's fine. It's good for me. If the Lord wish, and now the Lord is really like reinstating King David back to his position. Now this is Abishai. He's like, before it was like on our way out, right? Maybe King David thought like, we're weak. Now we're at the strong, like at the strongest of the strong. So I'm gonna definitely, King David is gonna allow me. So I'm gonna give it to him. So King David said, no. What I have to do with you, sons of Zeruiah, that you should be adversaries to me today? Shall any man be put to death today in Israel? For do I not know that today I am king over Israel? Look at this beauty. I'm king. Yeah, so what, Shimei? This is killing him is gonna make me more king than I am king. Doesn't matter. Like, let him. It's okay. I'll forgive him. I'll let it slide. So what? Right? Sometimes we think that I have to, like break someone's neck to feel better about myself. Okay? It doesn't have to be so. And King David, like, I'm satisfied with what God gave me. I am king. Doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just continue. Let's look after Israel. This shows like the visionary leader that David always had in himself. Like, he's looking after the Israelites. He's looking after what pleases God's heart. He's looking for the prosperity of the nation, not for his ego, okay? Not to satisfy his ego. And he said, I am king over Israel. Therefore, the king said to Shimei, you shall not die. And the king swore to him. Now Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and he had not cared for his feet, nor trimmed his mustache, nor washed his clothes from the day the king departed until the day he returned in peace. You remember Mephibosheth? What happened? His servant went and told a story to David saying, Mephibosheth is against you, da, 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 da. And then King David said, take everything that Mephibosheth owns, right? Because his servant, Mephibosheth's servant, he thought, how could, me and my sons and my family, we serve this man who is just limping, he despised him. And he went and told King David a story, okay, that how Mephibosheth is a traitor. We saw in the previous chapter. So now we see Mephibosheth showing loyalty to King David, and what the real story is. And he answered, my lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I will saddle a donkey for myself, that I may ride on it and go to the king, because your servant is lame. And he has slandered your servant to my lord the king, but my lord the king is like the angel of God. Therefore, do what is good in your eyes. For all my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king. Yet you set your servant among those who eat at your own table. Therefore, what right have I still to cry out anymore to the king? So he told him, I was trying to come to you, but I cannot. And my servant just left me and deceived me and came to you and told you like a fake story. But I'm okay with whatever you say. As long as I'm with you, I'll be happy. Anyways, we're dead. So let it be whatever you say. So the king said to him, verse 29, why do you speak any more of your matters? I have said, you and Ziba divide the land. Ziba, that's his servant. So basically he said, okay, let Ziba also divide the land with you. Okay, because he already gave his word to Ziba. So now he's saying, okay, let's divide everything between the two of you. No problem. Since you're not, you're content with what you have. Then Mephibosheth said to the king, rather let him take it all. I don't mind. Let Ziba take everything. No problem. In as much as my lord the king has come back in peace to his own house. That's so nice. Saying, as long as you are in peace, as long as you're safe, king, I don't mind. Let him keep it all. And again, it shows like a true loyalty. What do you think? What would you do if you were in King David's shoes? In those two incidents, like Shami, how he's dealing with him, and how he's dealing with Mephibosheth and Ziba, his servant. What do you think? What would you say you would do? What would you say you would do? Anyone from online, if you want to share something? Anything, guys. Abdul, what do you think? What we would think that we would do?
I think, as you said, King David, his heart is full of love. Like this man, shows that he doesn't hate anyone. And now he became a king, and his kingdom has been restored. He could have, take some revenge against Shammai or Ziba or anyone, but he forgave everyone.
Yeah.
He forgave everyone. He said, today, as he said, I'm a king, so to kill this or to take revenge of that, it doesn't make me any better.
Yeah. But I think لو مكان King David يعني ممكن I would have thought like Ziba, you came and you tricked me. You know, I'm gonna kill you, or at least the worst, like I'll take everything and I give it back to Mephibosheth. But look, even though like he's respecting his word, whatever he promised, he's trying his best to keep it. Okay. And Mephibosheth, of course, you remember he's one of Jonathan's sons, right? So he's keeping a covenant and a promise to Jonathan that he will always honor him, that he will always look after him. Okay, that's how he has so much integrity in what he does, King David. Okay, good. Let's go. I'm trying to catch up to hopefully chapter even 21. So verse 31. And Barzillai, the Gileadites, came down from Regilim and went across the Jordan with the king to escort him across the Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old, and he had provided the king with supplies while he stayed at Mahanaim, for he was a very rich man. And the king said to Barzillai, come across with me, and I will provide for you while you are with me in Jerusalem. But Barzillai said to the king, how long have I to live that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am today 80 years old. Can I discern between the good and bad? Can your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any longer the voice of singing men and singing women? Why then should your servant be a further burden to my lord the king? Your servant will go a little way across the Jordan with the king. And why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please let your servant return back again, that I may die in my own city, near the grave of my father and mother. But there is your servant Shimham, let him cross over with my lord the king, and do for him what seems good to you. And the king answered, Shimham shall cross over with me, and I will do for him what seems good to you. Now whatever you request of me, I will do for you. Then all the people went over the Jordan, and when the king had crossed over, the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own place. So apparently Barzillai, he was providing for the king when he was away from Jerusalem. So it shows that alike in this chapter, the enemies of King David, those who deceived King David, those who loved King David, those who are loyal to King David, those who wants to stab King David in his back, everyone is coming together. Okay, and this is something very hard to do, you know, very hard to do. How many times, you know, you come to do something, or even in service, you like even just get servants who are like-minded, like, okay, you know, let me get like servants who will, like other people will help me in serving, that we're friends. I'll serve with my friends, right? But if I don't have my friends, it's gonna be, I don't want to do it. But King David is not so. It doesn't matter to him. He brings everyone, and he serves, and he wants to establish the kingdom with everyone. Okay. Now, verse 40. Now the king went on to Gilgal, and Shimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah escorted the king, and also half the people of Israel. Just then all men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen you away and brought the king, his household, and all David's men with him across the Jordan? So all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, You know, Judah is one tribe. Israel are the other 11 tribes. Okay, so there and King David is from the tribe of Judah. Okay, so there they will be the closest to him. So all the men, yes.
Because Barzillai is a very nice person. Barzillai is a Gileadite.
Abdul, can you
Barzillai is a Gileadite. Those people, they live east of the Jordan River.
Have a seat.
So when the Israelites came out of Egypt, they came from the east side of the Jordan River. Okay, and Joshua took them, crossed the Jordan, and went to the promised land. I don't know if you can imagine the map. But anyway, before they crossed the Jordan, one of the tribes, the tribe of Manasseh is the son of Joseph. Okay, one of the tribes of Israel said to Joshua, "We will not cross the river with you. We will not cross the Jordan with you. Give us this land here. You guys go, cross the Jordan River, take the land. We are happy here." So Joshua said, "Okay, no problem, but come with us, cross the river, and after we finish, you come back and take this land." And that what exactly happened. So they crossed the river, and that tribe, Manasseh, came back and took that piece of land. And there were people living in this land called the Gileadites, not from the people of Israel, other people from the Gentiles. So the people of Manasseh, that tribe, came and lived with them. Barzillai is one of the Gileadites that they used to be like the natives of this land. So when David was escaping from Absalom, he went there, crossed the river, and hid, like they were hiding in this land. Barzillai, who was not an Israelite, took care of David and all of his men, gave them supplies and food and drinks. So, and David stayed there till the war finished and Absalom got killed. So now David is going back to Jerusalem to be a king again, to his palace. So he told Barzillai, "You have to come with me. You took care of me and all my men. I want you to come and live with me in my palace." So Barzillai told him, I'm 80 years old, as Abuna read it here. I'm 80 years old. What kind of food I will enjoy? Or what kind of singing I will, you can entertain me. خلاص, I'm 80 years old, مع ان 80 مش كبير يعني الواحد ها. فلكن قال له خلاص انا نعم ابونا مش لا ما بارك يعني close enough. فقال له يعني انا let me stay here. I want to be here in my land. I want to be close to my father's tombs and everything. I will be dying here. And nothing really will make any difference to me. I'm very old, and that's it. So instead take Shimham. I'm trying to say, huh? Shimham. Shimham, his son. قال له, you have my son Shimham. You take him. But أنا خلاص. Why am I stressing on this story here? Because there is a good spiritual meaning behind it. See, in the church, for instance, when Abuna gets old, يعمل إيه أبونا؟ يجيب الyoungest أبونا ويديله more responsibilities. يقول خلاص أنا إيه؟ I'm out. مش كده؟ يجي أبونا النيو أبونا you take over. And I believe يا أبونا إن أبونا Moros used to do that. يعني أنا فاكر كويس مثال حتى when أبونا كيرلس got ordained first feast and أبونا was لسه يعني young priest. أبونا Moros let him raise the sacrifice, the take care of the سميها رفع الحمل يا ابو.
Yeah.
رزق.
The
offering them. أبونا هو اللي celebrated الفيست first feast when he became a new priest. أبونا مورس خلاه، أنا فاكر كويس الموضوع ده، أبونا مورس خلاه هو اللي take leadership. فهنا برزلاي هو اللي يعني زي ما تقول initiated الحكاية، قال له أنا خلاص you take my son. وده المفروض حتى نعملها في our service. Sometimes you serve in a class مثلا في Sunday school في grade kindergarten or whatever, you know, and you feel, you know, it's خلاص بقى أنت why don't you bring someone who's younger than you take over the service. I personally sometimes I feel يعني إيه ashamed when someone asks me where do you serve. I serve the youth. طب أنا ده منظر واحد serve the youth يعني ما خلاص المفروض أنا إيه أبقى باي باي وحد تاني right ويوث. ربنا يخليك يا ابونا. فيعني معلش موضوع برزلاي ده I wanted to stop and I wanted to يعني explain it to you. وشيمهان بقى went with the king and lived at the king's palace. lived and بس برضو دي it shows the loyalty of King David that he takes care of every single one. Every single one. ده خلاص يا منفض. احنا وصلت قدسك
verse
40.
42.
Okay. 41. I'll start from. Just then all the men of Israel came to the king and said to the king, why have our brother and the men of Judah stolen you away and brought the king, his household, and all David's men with him across the Jordan? Now I want you here to understand عشان في حنا a very important issue is going to happen now. Israel, here you can see there is a split between Israel and Judah. Israel represents 10 tribes, and Judah by itself another tribe. Judah takes pride that King David is coming out of them. King David ده بتاعنا احنا. Israel انتوا ال 10 tribes دول انتوا ولا حاجه. لكن ايه جودة ده بتاعنا احنا. واخد بالكم؟ ففي خد بالك ان السبليت started, the seeds of the split of the kingdom starting now. Because this is going to happen right after King David dies, and after Solomon, the king will be split into north and south. So the seeds, you can see it from here. Okay? فهم بتوع إسرائيل جم قالوا إيه؟ قالوا لجودة، قالوا للking, why Judah is stolen you away and bought the king and all his household. يعني أنت بس بتاع جودة ولا إيه؟ So all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is close relative of ours. ده بيغيظ في ده. ده بيغيظ في ده. قال لهم لأن جودة ردوا قال له أصل الكينج ده يعني ده من عندنا، ده قريبنا، ده بيلعب معانا. Who are you into Israel? Yeah, because the king is close relatives to us. Why then are you angry over this matter? Have we ever eaten at the king's expense, or has he given us any gift? يعني جودة بيقول لإسرائيل يعني شايفين إن الكينج ادانا فلوس ولا ادانا give us food or anything? No, he didn't give us anything, but he's one of us. And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, we have 10 shares in the kingdom, in the king. Therefore, we also have more right to David than you. الخناقة ابتدت بقى. قالوا لهم بس إسرائيل ردوا قالوا احنا 10 tribes فاحنا لينا 10 shares in David, then we have shares in David more than you. يعني زي هو عملوا David دي زي piece of land وإن احنا لينا 10 وانتوا ليكوا 1. You can see starting, yeah, the split started here. We have 10 shares in the king, therefore we also have more right to David than you. Why then do you despise us? We're not the first to advise bringing back our king. يعني احنا انتوا يعني خدوا بالكم ان اسرائيل دول 10 tribes دول went behind Absalom. When Absalom became a king, the 10 tribes went behind Absalom, okay, and denied David. Now they're coming back to David because David won the war and Absalom is dead. So as you can see, it doesn't look good. Yet the words of men of the Judah were fiercer than the words of men of Israel. يعني كل واحد ابتدى يغذي الثاني الكلام. And that was the end of chapter 19. Oh, okay.
Okay, good. Thank you, Abdul. So let's move to chapter 20. Any questions before we move to chapter 20? More exciting stuff coming up. So this is one we're coming towards the end of maybe halfway through, but it's getting very exciting now. Any questions? No questions. Okay. So now they have this dispute. So, and there happened to be there a rebel whose name was Sheba, the son of Bishri. Is that in Arabic, Bishri? Or how does it say, Adul? Bakri. Okay, Bishri in Arabic. A Benjamite. So you remember always the Benjamite, it's the tribe of Saul, the first king. Okay. So they always feel like the kingdom belongs to us, right? And the king should always be from our tribe. So there's always this feeling that, so now Sheba, this guy, found this dispute happening, so said, okay, let's take advantage, okay? You know, I know no politics, okay, but you know, the truckers going to Ottawa, okay, and some other people going in and like, okay, let's benefit from this, right, Adil? You wanted to do that? You're not a trucker. Okay, sorry for the recording. This is politics, but we won't talk later on. After we'll talk about that. So this guy came and blew a trumpet. That means when you blow a trumpet, like there's something big, huge announcement happening. We have no share in David, nor do we have inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. Go to your tent. No need. We don't follow David. Okay, go back to your tent. Balash lamma. Basically, like everyone to his tent. So every man of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, the son of Bishri. But the men of Judah from Jordan, Bekri, is that in Arabic? What does it say in Arabic? Bikri? Okay. Because Bishri, it means it's a bit... But the men of Judah from Jordan as far as Jerusalem remained loyal to their king. Just 2 verses, they were fighting, all right, to stand with King David, all right? 2 verses after, they're like, okay, forget it. Let's go home. Okay? No more demonstration, okay? Yeah, the right to protest. Okay, let's go home. Okay? So imagine someone comes out tomorrow and to the truckers and say, hey, don't worry about it. Go to your home. Don't bother this matter. Okay? And then, okay, so hard to resist this part now. So, so everyone went, and this shows the heart of men. When we follow people, or if the church decides to follow people, this is what people will be like. One day right, and one day left. Whoever comes in leading, yes, and whoever comes after that against, yes. So everyone is yes. In our relationship with God, one day I'm with God, right? And we're sitting and having chat and the Bible and everything, having good Bible study. Let's apply this in our lives, right? You leave from the Bible study, you meet your friends outside, let's go to the bar. That's okay, let's go to the bar. I know you guys don't do that. Okay. The next day, it's like I'm gathering with my other friends, like let's go have a drink, whatever. The following day, let's go attend the liturgy. Let's go attend liturgy. The following day, let's serve the poor. Oh, it's a good cause. Let's go and do that as well. And you keep on going like that, up and down, up and down. It's just so exhausting. And before you realize it, most of the time, you find yourself like going up and down like that. And spiritually, you get exhausted. Emotionally, you get exhausted. Physically, you get exhausted. And then you come to a point where I don't care. I'm just gonna do whatever. I have no power in this. Okay? And apparently this is part of it. We see it here. You see a very similar picture also in the book of Acts, the last chapter of Acts. Anyone knows what happened in that chapter? This just came into mind. When St. Paul was saved from like the boat was wrecked and everyone made it to shore safe and everything, and the people of that island, they welcomed them. But then as St. Paul was gathering some wood around for the fire because it was cold, a serpent came out and like on his hand, and they know that this serpent is deadly. They said, he was saved, even though he was saved from drowning, but the God wouldn't let him live, so sent this serpent. So they said they ran away. They stayed away and they're waiting for St. Paul to die. Then an hour passed, a little bit passed, nothing is happening. And the same people looking like, oh, this must be God. Let's worship him. Just a minute ago, you were saying like this is an evil person, right? A minute after, you're saying, oh, this must be God. And he's like, no, I'm not God. I'm just a servant of my God, Lord Jesus Christ. So we have to be careful in this kind of like waves. And like one time this wave is hitting left and this time wave hitting right. So that's why in our church, as much as you want and as much as like people try to say like we can do it, yes, we can do everything, but it's so many times I see like it comes in the church, the people want this, the people want that. Abuna, you're not easy, look, people want this, but Habibi, God did not say this. Okay, I'm not talking about like things that could be done, but I'm talking about things in the faith or things in the dogma or things in the practice of our worship, because our worship, the way we worship, the way we pray, expresses our dogma and expresses our faith. People, take it easy. We don't have to fast together. Everyone fast on your own. No, it says in the Bible. God says it every time in the Bible. He says all people fast together. So why you want to change it? Because you know. So we gotta be careful. That's why the church is like, no, it's not up to the people. It's up to God what he wants us to do. And we're gonna see that a little bit in the next chapter. It's gonna be a very loud message. Okay, so we cannot be what you call a congregational church setup. A congregational church setup, that means like the congregation decides how the church should be run and how we should read the Bible and how we should interpret the Bible and how we should apply the Bible. No, we are an apostolic church. That's why the first thing when you come to an Orthodox church, the top thing you see is what? The cross, and our Lord Jesus Christ is on the cross. Okay, and then the second thing, of course, the the Last Supper icon, okay? But then around this, on either side, who do you see? The apostles, right? Because we say in one holy, universal, apostolic church, the apostles. Okay, so it's very important that we stick to that, because otherwise we'll be thrown left and right and center, just if we follow people. Okay, let's go back so we can finish this chapter. So now David, verse 3, chapter 20, came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in seclusion and supported them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in a widowhood. So it starts to show now King David is getting older. And because of all what happened, he started maybe even to lose interest in so many things in life, in the trying to keep the kingdom together. But even in like the desires, his desires to fulfill, it's not even there. It's like, yeah, I don't want to have any to fulfill all my desires. Okay, so it starts to show how King David, like he's going into his last days. And the king said to Amasa, remember Amasa? Amasa is the one, he was the leader of the army of Absalom that King David brought and set on top of Joab. Okay. The king told him, assemble the men of Judah for me within 3 days, and be present here yourself. So Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah, but he delayed longer than the set time which David had appointed. Taban, of course, I can imagine in the background who is kind of like, boiling and like couldn't take it, Joab. It's like, now you send Amasa. It used to be me. I'm your man. Any unfinished business, I finish it for you. Now it's Amasa, and he's sitting. Okay. So Amasa went and assembled the men of Judah, but he was delayed. Verse 6, and David said to Abishai. Abishai is the brother of Joab, right? Now, Sheba, the son of Bishri, will do us more harm than Absalom. Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, lest he find for himself fortified cities and escape us. Okay? He's talking to who? Abishai. Who's coming into the scene? Joab. So Joab's men with the Sherethites and the Pelethites and all the mighty men went out after him. And they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, the son of Bishri. Okay. When they were at the large stone, which is in Gibeon, Amasa came before them. Now they're going. Amasa is coming. Finally, he's late. Okay. And now Joab was dressed in battle armor. On it was a belt with a sword fastened in its sheath at his hips. And as he was going forward, it fell out. It fell out. Okay, he was wearing it on his hips, and it fell out. Okay, I don't know. I have a small theory here. I think we're gonna dispute, Adil and I, so we'll see. Then Joab said to Amasa, are you in health, my brother? Are you in health, my brother? Salam, such a love looking for this man. Are you okay? You were delayed. We're worried about you. And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. Can you imagine how it's looked with his right hand? No, read it again. Okay. Then Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him with the right hand, right? So, and then, but Amasa did not notice the sword that was in Joab's hand, and he struck him with it in the stomach, and his entrails poured out on the ground, and he did not strike him again. Such an experienced war killer, right? Didn't give him even a second chance. Like with the same, I don't know. It sounds to me like with the same hand. Like, sorry guys on the online, the sword is on the floor. He's like holding the sword like this, and he pulls him, and he does not notice, and then is like pushing the sword, and he's like pushing him down, stuck him in the stomach. Okay. Everyone here, of course, I don't see the people online, but everyone here is like faces turned, and he died. Thus he died. Then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba, the son of Bishri. Now, the part that I probably gonna disagree with Adil. It says like his sword fell. Since when such an experienced person like this, his sword will just, just like that, like fell on the ground? It sounds to me like he did it like purposely. It's like, okay, let my sword fall on the ground, and let's play a game on this guy. And he got rid of him. Does it remind you of anything else? So he got rid of Amasa. This Joab is, very tough. Okay. At the beginning of 2 Samuel, he did the similar job to who? Abner, yes, Stephen. Abner is the army leader for what's his name? Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, where there were two the army of Saul and the army of David. So the leader of army of Saul is Abner, and he got to a covenant or a deal, okay, peace with David. But on the way, at the door, at the gate, Joab was waiting for him, and he took him also again with a hug, and he killed him also the similar way. So this guy seems like, maybe these are the two mentioned, but he seems to be very experienced in doing this. Okay, so this is Joab. We're gonna see how King David is still not gonna be able to do much with him. Such a disaster here. But look what happens after. It's even worse. So then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba, the son of Bishri. They continued, just get a hug, and he like stabbed him in the stomach, killed him, and the guy is on the floor. You read the next verse. Meanwhile, one of Joab's men stood near Amasa and said, whoever favored Joab and whoever is for David, follow Joab. This is dangerous. He did not say Joab, David. He said, you're in favor of Joab and David, follow who? Joab. He did not say David. So now Joab is, you imagine like people seeing this happening, it's like, I better watch out. This guy does not joke. I cannot, trust my life 1 meter away from him. This could be coming any minute. You don't even know it, right? And this guy from Joab's side said, be careful. You got to follow who? Joab. So this is turning not good. But Amasa Wallowed in his blood. This is very bad. The guy like on the floor, just choking and like just like it's ugly. Yeah, he died, but like he still die like so. In the middle of the highway, and when the man saw that all the people stood still, so this man saw everyone like looking at Amasa, nobody can move like a foot or anything. So he moved Amasa from the highway to the field and threw a garment over him. When he saw that everyone who came upon him halted. When he was removed from the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue Sheba, the son of Bishri. Not even a single person to say a word of truth or to speak truth or to stand up in front of Joab, even if they get killed. How many times we see things like this and just like, you turn a blind eye. It's okay. I'm not going to say anything. It's okay. You know, my brother is doing something really bad. It's okay. I'm not going to say anything. And we keep on going and we forget that there are people dying and people wounded and we don't help one another. Okay? Because maybe we're afraid. We're afraid to be persecuted. We're afraid, I would say what? We're afraid to be judged by other people that we're not like them. You know, I told you how like one time a youth came and said, no, Buna, if I'm among my friends and we're like everyone is drinking or smoking shisha or smoking pot or smoking this and that, and if I don't do like them, I feel judged. So, you know, most of the time when we use this expression, I feel judged, I come to church and I felt judged by everybody, right? Like this one is the other way around, right? I'm going to a place and I feel judged because I'm not doing the evil things like everybody else. Okay, let's finish chapter 20. Do we have time or we stop? No? Okay, sorry. Okay, so okay, we're gonna stop here. Next week we continue chapter 20 verse 14. I really wanted to get into chapter 1, but it's okay. So next week we're gonna continue and we're gonna see the end of Sheba, the son of Bishri, and then we're gonna go into chapter 21, and we're gonna see something strange. Drought in the promised land. The promised land that was told to be flowing honey and milk. We're gonna see drought. And apparently there is a reason behind this, because it cannot be so naturally unless it's from God. So next week, it's such a very strange reason, very, very strange reason why God brings drought. And more strange than that, how David dealt with it. Okay. If you want to know more about this, you got to go back and read parts of Joshua and read parts of Deuteronomy. Okay, so next week we're gonna dig a bit deeper into those two books to know the reason, the other stories behind what's gonna happen and why God is doing this. Such a beautiful one. Okay, God be with you. Glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. I'm gonna stop the recording. If you have any questions now,